Well, there's finally light at the end of a very long tunnel. As many of you have heard, Pfizer has recently received emergency use authorization for its vaccine against COVID-19. Soon after, the Moderna vaccine will follow as well. In this video, we hope to answer many of the common questions that you might have related to this vaccine and this new technology in vaccines. So the first question I'm sure many of you have is, will the vaccine be required as a condition of employment? The simple answer is no. First of all, there's not enough vaccine really even to go around to require it of everybody. Secondly, under emergency use authorization, you can't really require a vaccine. We really do want to encourage people to get vaccine when you're available to get it, but in the meantime, it will not be required. So you may have heard that this new vaccine is of a new technology. It's called messenger RNA vaccine. What does that really mean? Well, I think most of us have heard of DNA, which is the master molecule in all of the nuclei of our cells. That actually is what codes for basically everything that creates life. DNA is a coiled ladder that has two chains that are kind of connected together. When you take it apart, you end up with RNA, a single chain. Messenger RNA is a strand of RNA that's in the cells, and it encodes or creates a brand new protein. What the vaccine does is it actually puts some messenger RNA into the cell. It actually gets it in there by a little fat globule that has been designed. It gets into the cell and it encodes for a protein that looks like that little spike on the outside of the coronavirus molecule. That starts an immune response. The body is fooled into thinking that there's coronavirus in the body, and it generates antibodies and an immune response to that. That gives us immunity. And by the way, it does not change our genetic code at all. Messenger RNA hardly lasts at all. It gets into the cell, it codes for a new protein, and it dissolves away. There's no way that messenger RNA can get into the nucleus and affect our DNA. So don't let anybody tell you that it can cause genetic problems, because it can't. It's true, this vaccine was brought out in record time. It actually was astonishing how we're able to get a new vaccine in such a short amount of time, especially when you consider the fact that other vaccines have taken years to decades to come to market. The reason, though, that it happened in this kind of speed is because all resources were brought to bear in the context of this pandemic. Also, it's important to know that all aspects of the usual clinical trial and all the steps that would normally take place for a vaccine to come to market at this stage have occurred. There was no shortcuts. Everything has taken place. That's important to understand, and hopefully it makes you feel a little better about the vaccine. This vaccine has been shown to be 95% effective. That's an astonishing number when you consider that the flu vaccination typically is about 60% effective. Now, it's going to be given in 2 doses. The first dose will provide some degree of immunity within 10 days. The second dose completes and backs up that immunity. Well, first of all, let's get this out of the way. You cannot get COVID from the vaccine. It just doesn't work that way. The messenger RNA that gets into the cell and creates the spike protein to make the body think it's COVID, it can't create COVID. It's just not possible. As far as side effects are concerned, it's very similar to other vaccines. The side effects that people have typically are things like muscle aches, sometimes low-grade fever, headache, that sort of thing. That's again from those cytokines, those inflammatory mediators that are released in response to infection. The same thing happens with a vaccine. It puts out those mediators because it thinks that the body's having an infection. The good news is they're short-lived, about 12 hours, and you're doing okay. The simple answer to this question is yes. Masks are going to be needed for the foreseeable future. The main reason is it's going to take a while to get all of us vaccinated, those that want to get vaccinated. Also, herd immunity, which happens with vaccination over the course of time, will take a while to take effect. Beyond that, we have to understand that the vaccine prevents disease. It does not prevent infection. What does that mean? It means that you won't get the disease itself, the COVID-19, the pneumonias, things like that that happen as a result of SARS-CoV-2 infection. It does not, though, prevent entirely the possibility that you could get it and shed the virus to someone else. So until such time as this virus gets down to such a low level that we're not really even seeing it anymore, masks, physical distancing, those hygienic measures will need to continue. Certainly, you have to make what choice is right for you. As far as waiting for someone else to get it, it's totally human to want to see what happens when someone else gets the vaccine first. I think the data that we've seen demonstrates that it's safe enough that we all can get it when we feel it's important. You can certainly look at me because I'll be getting it right away. It's really too soon to say exactly when all of our friends and neighbors will be able to get the vaccination. We do know that there are categories that the government has set forth as far as priorities. 1A, for example, includes healthcare workers, nursing home residents, people like that. I think it's going to probably be into the spring until we're seeing general immunizations of the entire population, maybe into the summer. We'll just have to wait and see what the supply is, and be ready when it comes time to get vaccinated. As we go forward with this vaccination process, it's going to be important to listen to reliable sources. Ask the right questions of the right people. Follow the science. Talk to people, physicians, others that know something about vaccinations. You're probably going to hear a lot of scary things in the press, on social media, things like that. Resist the temptation to believe those things right off the top. Ask the right questions, and don't be afraid of this. All of us want to do the right thing. Well, I hope this video has been helpful. This vaccine is the next big step toward getting to tomorrow and getting past this pandemic. Stay well.